everyone. I am Divya Mohan, a principal technical advocate at SUSE, and this is yet another episode of Ranch Life. So we stream these twice a month on Thursdays, preferably at this time around, and we normally have experts from across the cloud native ecosystem, the WebAssembly ecosystem, as well as the open source ecosystem at large, come and talk about their topics of expertise. So today's session is going to be a little extra special, primarily because we have one of our own engineers come on board, not just to talk about our projects, but also to talk about one of the projects that they're maintaining. And we'll get to him in a bit, and we'll also bring him on, so you don't need to worry. So before we go ahead, if you're new to the stream, we always have this section where we set ground rules for the rest of the stream. So essentially, this is a knowledge sharing session. So please feel free to ask questions. However, we would like you to enter them in the chat section from wherever you're tuning in, whether that's LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter, or even on YouTube. We'll get to them during the course of the session itself. But the one ask that we have of you is to remain as courteous and as nice as possible when you're interacting with other members of the stream. Because, like I said at the start, this is a knowledge sharing session, and we're all going to learn from one another. So, like I said at the very start, I'm going to bring on Nicholas, who is an edge container engineer at SUSE, and he's one of those people who's also working on Project Akri, which is a project on the CNCF landscape. Now, as much as I'd love to say that I know a lot about edge computing and Project Akri, it's not the case. I know bits and pieces, and I'm here to learn as much as you are. So let's, without further ado, welcome Nicholas. Hi, Nicholas. How are you
Hi,
doing
Divya.
today?
I'm doing fine, and it's really nice to be with you today.
Thank you. And it's really nice that we finally get to have you on the stream, because I know that we've been planning it since quite some time. And the stars aligned finally today for us to be on this live stream, I guess. So, Nicholas, one of the first things that, I have as the question is, I've heard a lot about edge computing, and I've also um, you know, heard a lot of people talk about edge computing in the cloud native context and outside of it. So, as one of our engineers who's working on edge, and also one of the people who's contributing to Project Akri, um, how would you talk about edge if somebody who's not from this industry would ask you about what edge computing is? Like, could you give us a simplified definition?
For me, the most simple definition of edge computing is basically it's computing like you would do in cloud native computing, but outside of the data center. So you're not in a data center, you're not using a cloud service, you are using uh, well, computers that are out of a data center. It may be in some kind of, I'd say, mini data center like uh, room or something that is quite small and quite distributed, where you don't have all the facilities you have in a regular data center. Like you don't have the same reliability, you don't have the same kind of well, you may not have on-site um, engineers or technicians that can figure things out if there's something wrong. So you and the further you go from the data center, the more constraints you have, because if you go even further, then you have things where you may not control the access security. So it might be something that is like uh, on a counter, or I don't know, a kiosk or something like this. So here, pretty much anyone can interact with the device, well, with the machine, or it can be something as wild as I don't know, a sensor on a hydroelectric facility, and there you have a lot of other constraints that get play with, and uh, yeah. So basically, edge is the computing but outside of a data center, with all the things that it means, like non-reliable internet access, non-reliable uh, power, and pretty much anything can happen. You're muted.
And that's a classic me, thing that I do every time, probably. But to summarize what you just said, or to recap, would it be fair to say that it's it's a sort of a not mechanism, rather a paradigm that brings your compute and your data closer to the actual source of the data, rather than being,
Yeah.
cooped up in a data center like it has been traditionally with other computing models.
Yeah, closer to the source or closer to the output, whether what is more relevant, but closer to where the data processing is useful. So usually
Right,
you do it at the source, but it can be sometime at the output of the data stream.
right. And so before the stream, coming on the stream, I did not want to sound completely stupid. So I did a lot of research, and depending on who you ask, to be really honest, you get a very different definition of edge computing. Because Gartner says that there are four different types of edge computing. Um, there's another one that categorizes edge computing based on the flow of data, which is
Yeah.
near edge and far edge, right? And according to SUSE, at least according to the report that I read, there are like three different types of edge that we think of when we think of edge computing. One is the near edge, which like is closer to the data center with
Yeah.
tens to hundreds of devices. And a typical example, if I can think of, is probably um, central office for telecom or campus compute facilities, I think. And if you're talking about far edge, it's the second type. And basically, far edge is on the site, and it's the
Yeah.
farthest from the data center, as the name claims. And again, it has like hundreds and thousands of devices. Um, if you talk about all the use cases, you have ones in industrial IoT, you have commercial IoT, you have public sector IoT, and then I think we have Tiny Edge, which is basically the device itself. Um, and IoT devices fit here, and I think they are on the same network as a far edge device, and that's the gist of what we classify as edge. But like I said, dependent on who you talk to, and dependent upon the report you read, you're going to get a variety of definitions of the types of edge computing. So
Yeah.
just because we are SUSE employees, this is our definition that we're going to work with, and probably give you a sneak peek of, in terms of just a conversation here around the edge stack that we've just released the 3.0 version of. So again, coming back to our conversation about edge computing now, one of the things that you've been doing is working on Project Akri aside from your day job. So, what is Project Akri really? And I heard that there's firstly a dual meaning to the name Akri. Can you firstly like delve into that and tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, so Akri means edge in Greek. I did not verify, but that's what I've been told. uh, and it also means Kubernetes Resource Interface. So it's also an acronym. And basically, to put it simple, um, Acri allows you to detect devices and introduce them to Kubernetes so that they are recognized as Kubernetes resources and that all your usual Kubernetes workload can interact with the device, take ownership of the device when they need to, and yeah, basically what you would do with a GPU for AI ML in Kubernetes. You basically say, I want a GPU. Here you can say, I want a camera or I want a CNC router or whatever is your device.
Right, but I have a question, and it again, it's a question that came up when I was, I heard about Acri. I did not read through the documentation before that. Why was it required? Like, when we're talking about Edge, is there a reason why Acri as a project is required when we're talking about these devices being integrated into a Kubernetes cluster?
Well, it's all to do with the cloud native aspect of it. Is if you take before we take Kubernetes to the edge and everything, there was all this on-premise things, and where you had kind of a purpose-built application that was doing everything from interacting with the device and detecting them, or maybe it was just a static configuration that had all the device that was purpose-built for this. And now with Acri, you can have you can tell Acri the kind of device you want to discover, and it will discover them add them as resources in Kubernetes, and then you can have other microservices that do interact with the device and extract the data or put data to the devices. And this way, you decouple all that thing of detecting and knowing if a device is there and interacting with the device. So you don't deploy things that won't be useful because the device is not there.
Right. So again, just to recap what I heard, um, basically, what actually as a project does is expose these devices, whatever devices that we're talking about, at the edge as a Kubernetes resource, and it does this via um, a plugin framework, I guess,
Yeah,
and it it takes away the overhead of you having to deal with the dynamic appearance and disappearance of the device, right?
yeah. Uh, in fact, you can use Acri in multiple ways for this. Either because you have device that can appear or disappear, or another use that I've seen also is you know you will have a device, but you don't know which one. Like
Okay.
you, for example, are a manufacturer for some kind of complex device, and there is an option that you can buy that is an additional device that get plugged in, and you want to deploy a specific uh, add-on app that will interact with this, but
Right.
then it will allow Acri will allow to detect the presence of this and deploy the add-on app, so you don't have to implement all the logic of detecting and deploying the app by yourself.
Right. But how does it do this? Like, can we delve a little bit into the architecture of and the workflow of how Acri does this? And do you have like a diagram or some sort of a visualization that you can show so that it will be a little more clear?
There is one in the official documentation of Acri
Okay.
that shows the overall architecture, but it's pretty simple. As a user, you write a configuration that tells Acri how to uh, well, how to discover your device, see what protocol to use, some properties to filter the device that could be discovered, or anything that is relevant to the specific protocol you use. And then this configuration will be taken by the uh, Acri agent, that is something that will run everywhere in your cluster. And this agent will ask discovery handlers. So this barbarian names means just it's a specialized agent for a specific protocol. So if you want to speak, say, OnVIF with a camera,
Right.
then it will ask the OnVIF discovery handler. And the way we does this is you can add more discovery handlers if you have more protocols, or write your own if you need to. So that's kind of neat for Acri to have this. And then this Acri agent will take the results from the discovery handlers and put them in Kubernetes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've just brought that up just for people who are talking. I mean, watching this. So
okay.
I guess, yeah. So
Yeah, this is this one.
yeah,
So and the thing that is really uh, I'd say funny in how Acri works is it will expose the device in the same way, in the exact same way that when I told about GPUs for the data center. Well, it used the same mechanism. It used gently device plugins, and so it tells the kubelets that I have all these devices. Please expose them to as property of the node, and so then they can be used. And there's
okay,
another component in Acri that is the controller that has kind of a different rule, because another rule of Acri is that is useful is uh, I want to deploy a specific application for every device that get detected. And so this is what the controller do. It basically goes over all the discovered device and ensures that you have the associated workload that is deployed.
right. So I will paste the link in the description for the documentation. So if you're just tuning in, or if you do not have the link to the documentation, you do not need to worry. Um, Another thing that I was really curious about, right? Y'all also gave a presentation at the recent KubeCon that concluded in France. Could you talk a little more to the things that y'all discussed there? I know the presentations up on YouTube and people can probably watch it. And I will also link it in the video section if people want to watch it. Sorry, the description section if people want to watch it. But could you give a brief overview of the things that you all talked there as part of the presentation?
Yes. So as I said, Acri currently use device plugins to expose the devices. And currently in development in the Kubernetes world, there is dynamic resource allocation. So you may
Yeah,
have heard of it.
yeah,
And uh, this kind of introduce a new way to expose devices that may be more adapted for what the kind of device we are discovering and sharing with Akri. So it will ease how Akri works and how users interact with Akri and the devices. So that's a move we are trying to do, and we are following closely the um, well, everything that is done by the device management work group that is working on GRA, so that we have something we can use for Akri. And so the Kubernetes presentation was about the proof of concept we did, that is making Akri work with the current version of the array.
Right. And is that like, and speaking of, POC, I am assuming that it's still very much a work in progress, given the recent developments. And speaking of that, it brings me to the roadmap side of things. Primarily because this is an interesting space that not many people are familiar with when it comes to, not just awareness, but edge computing seems like a relatively newer term and a confusing term at that for people to actually get involved in. So, could you speak to the roadmap of the project in general?
Yeah, so currently the project is a CNCF sandbox project. So basically, we are first aiming to get to 1.0, and from there try to go to incubating phase of CNCF. So it means a lot of, I'd say, not visible work, like getting more test coverage, getting uh, more stable release process, and kind of polish the code. We are doing some big refactors currently to ensure that we won't be breaking the API later on. So yeah, we are doing all this currently. So we are aiming to get that 1.0 release. We hope like early next year.
Okay, so maybe next KubeCon, that is not an EU technically, we can expect an announcement probably. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be real nice to have this kind of announcements. Yeah, and we still have features that are in development that will land in future versions. Like we have one that will allow the Acri controller to spawn any kind of workload resource. Currently, it's limited to a pod or a job, but we are doing some work to be able to spawn pretty much anything from a deployment, a pod, a job, or a CRD if you have something specific there. So that will bring a whole lot of uh, new possibilities for Acris users. And there are other works in progress to, like, on uh, being able to tie Acri with an inventory system so that you can approve devices before they get shared on the Kubernetes cluster. So this kind of thing.
Right, and I think I don't remember which KubeCon it was, but I remember um, during one of the cloud native WebAssembly days, um, there was a session by Kate Golden Ring from Fermion, and I don't remember the other person's name. I'm really sorry, but I think it involved Project Akri in some form or another. And I think this was very early on, right around the time I got involved with WebAssembly. So, and since I think as we're talking about things on the edge, WebAssembly is definitely something that we're trying to keep up with. Are there any items on the roadmap that potentially signal this sort of an interest as well?
Well, well we kind of put this out of the uh, well soon roadmap because we really want to go on a stabilization phase, but we have plans like we are exploring getting a way for the uh, discovery handlers to be WebAssembly functions, or we are thinking about uh, well, one of the first thoughts was to get Akri itself be a WebAssembly workload, but
Right.
currently there's not all the pieces we would like to have or that we need basically to be able to do that. So that won't be anytime soon.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, we are still looking at WebAssembly, and one of the goal of the being able to spawn any kind of workload is also to be able to spawn WebAssembly based workload that are not based on just a pod or just a job.
Right. So, again, since we've talked in depth about Acri and we're almost close to our wrap up time, I also would love to delve into some of the work that you've been doing here at SUSE, as you know, one of the people who's working on our Edge stack. Can you talk a little more to it?
Yeah, so we just released like last month the Edge 3.0 release. So it's kind of an achievement for us because it's the first release that kind of gets everything in it. So from the operating system to all the applications that you can run on the Kubernetes cluster you will build on. So things like be it Rancher or Longhorn or um, New Vector, so all this kind of thing, and automate the deployments. So all the first phases of this were about this deployment and getting everything out and in good shape so that you can have uh, well basically a way to deploy to the edge without many issues.
Right.
So on this personally, I've uh, as I've been working mostly on Acri, uh, I don't have a full picture of it, even though I worked on the release process as well. But yeah, uh, it's a really big thing, and one of the most impressive part of it is a tool named Edge Image Builder. But I'm not the most well informed on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a blog again that talks to a lot of the components that you just spoke of, and I'll include that as well in the even YouTube video or the LinkedIn comments description, so that people can check that out as well. Also, for those uh, who aren't aware because we've not released socials around it yet. We are holding a masterclass around the Edge 3.0 release in June. We will be sending out, not sending out, rather, we'll be posting about it on our socials. So we request you to keep your eyes peeled to them if you're interested in learning more about the solution that comes from SUSE regarding edge computing. So it would be a great place to learn more about it. It's hosted by me and Andreas from our team will be actually joining to showcase some of the capabilities that Nicholas just spoke of. I don't know if the Edge image builder is there though. Hopefully, if Andres, if you're watching this, you can let us know if it's there. But I'm told that there's going to be a lot of cool demos. So I think we're up for the 30 minutes that I had, bothered you about. So thank you so much, Nicholas, for joining in today. It's been a pleasure having you, and it's been a pleasure knowing more about the edge computing landscape in the context of cloud native. And it's also, been very enlightening for me to listen to more about the Project Akri in specific, because I did not know a lot about it, and I'm sure that's the feeling that's with our users as well, not users rather, the audience who's tuning in as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you as
And
well. It's been a pleasure as well to be there.
yes, and I know that we're going to be at Susukon. So
Yeah.
if people are uh, interested in learning more about our head stack, that's obviously going to be there. But you can also bother Nicholas, because he'll be there too, demoing some of the cool stuff that he's been working on. But you can bother him about Project Acri, I'm sure. So yeah. One
Um,
last
in
thing and a
fact, at
forward.
SUSECon, the demo I will be showcasing will include Acri in it.
Okay, so there you have it. You can bother him at Susukon about Project Akri. One last thing before we leave, I would like you to share, like, this is again so that I remember. I'd like you to share of this the any you know reference that you would like our audience to peruse, how they can contribute to Project Acri, and where they can find Project Acri, maintainers to talk to in general, like maybe a Discord or a Slack or something, so that they can catch up
Yes.
with you and ask questions. Maybe you can like let us know about all of this, and I can paste that in the YouTube description so people can
Yes.
reach out to you.
Yeah, sure. So we have a GitHub repository for all the code and documentation. And we have a Slack channel on the Kubernetes Slack. So it's on the Acri channel, basically.
Okay. I mean, I will get that from you, and I'll paste that on the description as well as in the comments, so that people can, collaborate on this also. And I'm
Sure.
sorry I went out there for a bit, because I think my network is a little glitchy. So, nevertheless, thank you so much to everyone that tuned in, and to Nicholas as well, who's been so gracious to come on and talk about Acri and the SUSE Edge 3.0. Uh, so, that's about it. And we'll see you on the next live stream. That's, I think, in 2 weeks from now. Bye, folks.
Bye.